Promoter Eddie Hearn says the mass public would rather see a rematch between Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora as opposed to Luis Ortiz or other. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, just like clockwork, Eddie Hearn does a recent interview, and you can find it on the internet. He says that the mass public would prefer a fight with Derek Chisora, so that's their number one priority for Dillian Whyte. Derek Chisora, a rematch, a guy that Dillian Whyte already beat, and he says the public prefers that over a fight with Dillian Whyte and Luis King Kong Ortiz, right? Or apparently Dominic Brazil. Listen, like I said, just like clockwork, new media is on the case. We have Dante's Boxing Nation. He did a poll, so make sure you guys vote in his poll who you would rather see. But I expected this from Team White and Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. I mean, it goes without saying. I know this is an independent fight, whoever Dillian Whyte fights, but it's linked to the heavyweight division, linked to Eddie Hearn, linked to Matchroom, and linked to Anthony Joshua. And this just proves to me what I already knew about Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder and Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn and Matchroom, and why that fight didn't happen, period. Because you see patterns where it's similar behavior, even though it's totally different fighters. Like Dillian Whyte is not the number one cash cow on Matchroom. You know, solid fighter, good fighter, but he's not the number one cash cow. And yet and still, Eddie Hearns still would rather try to put out this narrative to the public that we know not to be the case. Listen, not to toot my own horn, but I have a popular boxing channel, you know, From the Mud. I have an Instagram with almost 80,000 people from the mud. Like, this is no sponsorships and, you know, this and that and cosigns by anybody, you know. It's just word of mouth, right? And I talk to people in boxing daily. You're not going to do this to Ego's Army and new media and, you know, create these narratives that we know aren't the case. Like, who are you speaking for? I've said this before. No one really outside of the UK wants to see Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora, right? I talk to American boxing fans on the daily, but I also talk to fans from around the world. Now, here's the problem, and I've called this on my live streams and whatnot. The problem Eddie Hearn is going to run into with DAZN is he got DAZN, these billionaires' money tied up, and he's promising 16 US fights, 16 UK fights, yet he's still doing UK matchmaking. That does not work when you're in and entering a different market. You're no longer in the UK. I mean, you're in the UK, but you're no longer just in the UK. You're trying to make your imprint in America. Now, Luis Ortiz is not an American. However, he has made his name in America, right? His biggest fight to date is Deontay Wilder, which happened where? At the Barclays Center in America. And he got a lot of respect from fans around the world, but also American fans. Just imagine if you went to go see that fight live in New York. You know, you would have the respect that he deserves, even in a loss, just because he gave Deontay Wilder, a champion with vicious power, a run for his money. Even after he got dropped, he came back and did that. You know, because you guys, a lot of people forget, Wilder was the one that struck first blood and dropped Luis Ortiz first. He was the one that hurt Luis Ortiz before Luis Ortiz hurt him. You know, Luis Ortiz got dropped, I think, in the 5th round, and then recuperated and dropped he dropped Deontay Wilder in like the set, or he didn't drop, excuse me, let me correct that. He didn't drop him in the 7th round. He buckled him and that kind of thing, right? That's actually very impressive too for Deontay Wilder, that he didn't drop, that he didn't go down. But, you know, he's made a name in America. I was also at Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter Jr. in Los Angeles. They gave him a standing ovation. He fought a guy that former champion Joseph Parker, who just lost to Dillian Whyte, but had him out on his feet, even though he got dropped twice in his fight. You know, had Dillian Whyte out on his feet in the 12th round. He made short work of Razko Janu, you know, on that card with Mikey Garcia and Robert Easter. That's the same guy that a former champion struggled with. Didn't really look particularly great, you know, and now you have Eddie Hearn, who's trying to persuade the public. Listen, in my honest opinion, this is no knock on Derek Chisora, veteran in the game. You know, he comes to fight. But the UK and Eddie Hearn are surviving off of really Derek Chisora reinventing himself with the knockout over Carlos Takam. But in the grand scheme of things, you knocked out a guy who had been knocked out. He's a heavyweight that's like 6 foot tall. You know, he's a real short, he's built, but he's a short heavyweight. You know, he's a short heavyweight who had been knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. He'd been knocked out by Anthony Joshua last year, at the end of last year. And then because you didn't expect Derek Chisora to knock him out, or, you know, to look good in the fight or whatever, and then he does it, and then now all of a sudden you're going to rush and try to capitalize by making a Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora. I have no interest in that fight. Again, this is where DAZN, in my opinion, is going to struggle, because this is not what the American public by and large wants to see, despite what Eddie Hearn is saying on Wax. He's saying, oh, the fans want to see it. I don't know, maybe UK fans, but you have to think beyond the UK now with this DAZN thing if you're charging people $9.99 a month, because that's just a domestic fight more so than a worldwide fight. Now, I can name a bunch of reasons why Luis Ortiz versus Dillian Whyte is better. 1, it's a fresh fight that we haven't seen. 2, I really think that Derek Chisora beat Dillian Whyte in a close fight in their first fight, and they still didn't give it to him. So what's to say that if he doesn't knock out Dillian Whyte, then it's going to be the same thing, you know? And 3, we all know that a proper game plan is probably to have Dillian Whyte see Anthony Joshua in April at Wembley and try to sell out 90, 100,000 if you can't land the Deontay Wilder fight, which as of right now doesn't look good, because you said they're not believing in you or responding to your emails. So if you're going to try to sell us that recycled fight where Anthony Joshua won clean, I understand rivalries, but see, rivalries don't need to happen immediately unless it's a controversial rivalry, you know? And I know they fought a couple years ago, but what I'm saying is rivalries like that can always wait. Canelo Golovkin, okay, that's different because they had a controversial first fight. Ward Kovalev 1 to Ward Kovalev 2, okay. You know, Mayweather Castillo, okay. Mayweather Maidana, those make sense because they were controversial in nature, right? Joshua knocked out Dillian Whyte. So if you really want to force that upon people, why not make Dillian Whyte fight someone he's never beaten already? You know, that gave Wilder a run for his money, especially since Wilder is being sought out and called out by Dillian Whyte. And that's another thing, man. I can go on all day about this. That makes this look really bad when Dillian Whyte has been on the horn for the last year or so, and he says he wants to fight Deontay Wilder. You could fight 2 other guys, Luis Ortiz or Dominic Breazeale, which would either improve your ranking or just make you look better and make you look more worthy of a title shot, be it Joshua or Wilder, you know, by fighting guys you never beat, you know. And out of all those 3 names, Breazeale, Luis Ortiz, and Derek Chisora, your main focus per your own promoter is the guy you already beat, you know, who's a veteran in the game, who lost to Klitschko, got knocked out by David Haye, you know, lost to Tyson Fury twice, second one by knockout. You know, it's really ridiculous how they're trying to, like, I guess use upon the UK's loyalty, the UK fans' loyalty, to make matches that don't even need to happen, you know? And it's just been a bad look for Eddie Hearn for a little while now, you know? Things like Kell Brook, Amir Khan, that fight to me is past its prime. Like, they should have fought when Kell Brook was undefeated, and he's no longer undefeated. And they're talking about Kell Brook coming back in December and maybe fighting Amir Khan next year. And then it's with all these rehydration clauses and stuff like that. Like, this is not like boxing. This is like strategist meat and stuff. You know, they're not even making it like entertaining and fun. You know, why give Dillian Whyte a ticket to a Joshua rematch without going through like a Luis Ortiz? Or like I said, even if you didn't fight Luis Ortiz, you could fight Dominic Breazeale, who did an interview with Sky Sports, you know, which is on their side of the pond. And he said, I will fight him. We could clear up this eliminator situation right now. So why wouldn't you at least do that? And then if you really wanted to fight Deontay Wilder, and I'm talking about Dillian Whyte, if he really wanted to fight Deontay Wilder, then now you're the mandatory. So to me, this stipulates what I already knew. They want to make Joshua versus Dillian Whyte in April. That's why they don't care about fighting Breazeale, because it's an unnecessary risk. It's a new, fresh face. He's 6'7", and it's a different style of fight that Dillian Whyte hasn't proven that he would beat, you know? And they're already going to give him a title shot with Joshua, most likely in April. You know, that's why they're not tripping about him fighting Breazeale. But then a fight with Luis Ortiz, the reason, in my opinion, they're not trying to fight Luis Ortiz is because he's dangerous. Because the winner of Luis Ortiz versus Dillian Whyte would be expected to fight Joshua if Joshua Wilder couldn't be made. So Joshua would be cornered with real solid, credible fights. Now, new media style. This is where Ego's Army really starts to dig in on y'all. Because all that shit people talk about Luis Ortiz being old, then, and you know, Dillian Whyte even said it. He did a video and he said, I'll knock out the old man. Then why are you fighting somebody who's younger in Derek Chisora? I mean, he's not the youngest fighter, but he's younger. Why wouldn't you take the old man where you'll get more credit for? You know, so this is a bad look for Dillian Whyte, and it's a bad look for Eddie Hearn, because it was very predictable. Nothing's been announced yet, but if they don't fight Luis Ortiz, or at the very least Dominic Breazeale, it's going to be a horrible look. And again, I don't see how DAZN is going to make the impact and the splash that they expect doing stuff like this, right? Luis Ortiz was ordered by the WBC initially. Then they started looking at Kubrat Pulev, you know, a guy who pulled out of his opportunity with Joshua, never to have fought him. You know, he still hasn't fought Joshua, you know, and he sounded scared to fight Joshua. Then Kubrat Pulev wanted his promoter or his friend or whoever won the purse bid, and they were trying to make the fight in Bulgaria. Then all of a sudden, Dillian Whyte wasn't interested. Eddie Hearn wasn't interested anymore. How come? Why not fight in Bulgaria? You know, because they want everything their way. So then he started looking at Joseph Parker, who was coming off of a loss and was considered the champion that needed the most work, the weakest link at the heavyweight division, you know, and we're supposed to give a whole bunch of credit for Dillian Whyte beating Lucas Brown and beating a guy who was a former champion off of, like, directly coming off of a loss to Joshua. You know what I mean? It's just like Luis Ortiz is the ticket. Luis Ortiz will prove everything that fans need to know about Dillian Whyte, and if he's ready for a title shot. And they don't want to even chance that. The Boxing Voice did an interview with Deontay Wilder, and he said, I'm a man of my word. He says, if Dillian Whyte fights Luis Ortiz and gets past him, I will give him an opportunity, because anyone that could get past Luis Ortiz has my respect. And they're still not doing it. You know, they still sound like they're trying to go. I mean, just the fact, this speaks volumes, just the fact that Eddie Hearn says Derek Chisora is the priority, and that's the fight that they're really trying to close. That tells you everything you know. Even if somehow miraculously Luis Ortiz, which I doubt, but somehow that comes off for December, it lets you know that this is not what they wanted, because he just told you. He said our priority is Derek Chisora. Why is that the priority? That's the fight that means the least, because Dillian Whyte already got past him. Horrible look for Eddie Hearn, Dillian Whyte, and DAZN. That's just my honest opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.